This clock calls me to order. Pledge allegiance.
Mayor Pro Tem Ward, Council Members Robinson,
Here.
Bauer,
Here.
Hedvig.
Okay, tonight we will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. We have a motion. I'll make that motion. Motion by Councilmember Bauer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Udvig. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then before we do the consent agenda, I know there's one thing we wanted to pull out was item E, the NLC service line warranty program. I guess we will entertain a motion to approve everything except item E. We'll move on to that after discussion. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Robinson, second.
I'll second.
Second by Bauer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item E. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. My main concern on this was the city's logo and our involvement in regards. I did look up HomeServe directly. I did get a letter today from our email from our works director. I'm all for education. I'm all for giving the customers / our citizens insurance and assurance that things can, educate them on what's going on, what, the city's responsibility of a certain part of the road, yard, etc., and so forth. I'm not comfortable with our logo being used. If it's that good of a product, it can stand alone, in my opinion, or team up with CenterPoint Energy, which is our gas provider here in our town. This won't affect any people with their own sewer and or water systems anyway. But with our logo on there, it's human nature that they will reach out to St. Francis and ask for help first. I think in a lot of cases, I'm speculating, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but we'll be involved. We're married to this project. And again, we can educate through newsletters. The independent company here can educate through mailers. They could use our mailing list or use, there's many avenues out there to get a hold of the general public on what, or to get their message out. So I did get on the internet, looked up the company. They had an A+ rating with Better Business Bureau. They've been out and about. I did read some complaints and there's pros and cons to everything, and whether it's a car dealership or whatever. But my concern and my past experience in the service industry is it's going to be a Friday night. They're going to call contractor A, and then they're either busy or they can't make it. There's going to be some time lapsing going on here, and this is going to be there's going to be some things happening in the home and whatnot. But in my experience, and I'm not positive on this, but I'll use my experience because that's why I'm here. They're going to have a set fee for a certain breakage or a certain problem, and if the contractor doesn't agree to that, or they go in and open up they dive into the problem, then they got to make phone calls, and there's a lot of stuff going on. And again, our name is covering above all this as well. So I'd rather see us, it's great to educate. It's great to offer the customer some, and customers should be cognizant. If you're a homeowner, hopefully you've reached that level of responsibility. If you own a home, you should be looking at around the full ancillary responsibility of owning a home. And to me, that's one of them. But I just don't like the fact that our logo would be a part of it. We could assist them and we could put something in a newsletter and we could offer for people to check them out. But I think it should be a standalone deal, not have our situation at this time. Thank you.
okay. Anything else, Rob?
I agree with Kevin about the contract, because as a resident, if you see the word St. Francis, either A, the residents are gonna feel like they're supported by the city, which they should be, and number two, that we 100% vetted this in LC. And I'm not getting warm and fuzzy. I know we wanted to move forward just to kind of see how many people want to try and sign up or kind of move towards that direction. But I agree with Kevin, and these prices are sticker shocking to me. Number one, I wouldn't pay that for a monthly fee. I just roll the dice on my one-time fix. If something was to happen in my yard, it's just hard to say, if you want the support, i.e. the company, then it does need to be standalone and the residents need to understand that's who you're getting.
Sarah?
I agree with that, Councilmember Robinson.
Yeah, I think to me, it's kind of a split bag for me. I think, people want to sign up for it, they can sign up for it, similar to like what CenterPoint has to say, of course, about the thing. If they look at the contract and look at the cost to get them to decide whether or not to do it. And then, I think when Paul did respond back with kind of what they did, what they sent back with their responses to some of the questions that you asked Kevin. I think they had a good response, but I do understand the concern with the letterhead. I think having our name on it is going to generate phone calls regardless, just dealing with the public. Knowing that, and I'm guilty of it just like anybody else, where you read part of something and think you know what it says. I think it would generate more questions as well. I'm not really opposed to it. However, at this time, I would entertain a motion either to accept or deny it. Whoever wants to make a motion, either way.
If Mayor, if I may say, I'm not against this opportunity for our citizens to do business with this company.
Right.
I would just like the fact that we could, if we want to modify or separate, we don't need our letterhead on there. Affiliated, but again, there's goods and bad with every company, and they're an A+ rating currently with the Better Business Bureau. Again, my main concern is they send the contractor out, and the contractor, local contractor, say Northern Oklahoma Plumbing agrees to do the job. And it's $350 on a Friday night, but they get into more trouble than there is, and then the dominoes start falling.
Right.
And it's gonna be a $700 job, and you have to then go back to, again, in my experience, back then in Seattle, they had to authorize the extension, and there's time going by, and then there's effluent running in your home, and there's things going to heck, and but again, gladly will, we put them in our newsletter, we could recommend them in our newsletter along with any other company, but they could stand alone with CenterPoint Energy too. I see CenterPoint's already currently one of their customers. They can easily pair with those guys and offer the education and the opportunity to the customer as well.
I guess for clarification, then are we opposed to send it out on our mailing without our letterhead on the forms, or where are we, I'm just trying to figure out exactly where we.
I'm just saying, I'd rather see our letterhead not involved in it whatsoever. But if we want to, as far as Paul's main concern, I think was education. He ran into a situation where one of our citizens was upset because, a problem happened.
Right.
He thought it was the city's responsibility. Well, the delineation between where it starts and where it stops as far as utilities going in and out of the home.
Right.
But, if NCL wants to step up, or ABC or XYZ company wants to, we could easily say, may not give a recommendation, but offer the opportunity that these people are available for you to call. And this is why you might need their services. I guess as far as the education, to cover Paul's education for purpose of it.
Well, I think, part of this deal was basically we send out the mailings, if people do want to sign up. That could benefit the city a little bit, which is one of the reasons I think why they have a letter on it as well. But I don't know, do we spend more time on it talking about how we want to go about business with it, or do we say we just don't want anything to do with it? Like, they obviously are free to do business in the city.
Exactly.
But we don't want anything to do with it, is that where you're going?
That's where I'm going. I don't want our name affiliated, or our city's name affiliated.
Okay. Rob?
I would agree. I don't know if there's any legal recourse. Can we provide NLC with our mailing list? Let's say if you'd like to mail something out to our residents, you have the city's blessing, but if we send a mailing out, I don't care if the letterhead says it, if the return address, St. Francis, so that's kind of where I would lean, like, hey, if you still want to do business in St. Francis, send out your own letterhead, your own envelopes, and get your customers to buy it off on it. That's
Sarah?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if a little bit of kickback that we might get is going to be worth the hassle that we might encounter. Again, we don't know, but it just seems to me that if they see City of St. Francis, they're gonna expect us to have answers. And we're not.
So we have consensus. This time, I guess I will entertain a motion to deny the NLC service line.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Motion by Robinson, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bauer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we have a meeting open to the public.
Nobody asked.
Nobody signed up at this time?
Did you say that?
Yeah.
Okay, she's waiting.
That's all right. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, I am Josie Johnson. I live at 23936 Palm Street in St. Francis. Oh, Kevin's Weavers by Kevin. Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having an open forum. And my sister and I are here to speak a little bit about a concern in our neighborhood. When I first moved, so we live out in Smith Lake neighborhood. When I first moved there almost 7 years ago, there were hardly any homes built in the neighborhood. And the speed limit as you enter in to the neighborhood is 35 miles an hour. And since then, we have had a boon of new neighbors, which is amazing and great. It's just that the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit is not really conducive to small children riding bikes. We have a ton of people who come to the neighborhood. They actually don't even live in the neighborhood, but they come and they park and they walk. We walk dogs. There's a lot of outdoor activity that happens in the neighborhood, and the 35 miles per hour is actually posing a problem for us. It's dangerous. I do know that, you know, as I look at the Minnesota state statute around like what we decide is a rural residential or a residential street, and then look at our, you know, our code of ordinance that we are considered a rural residential. And that can put our speed limit at 35 miles per hour. But my request would be that whatever the process is, and I know that there are other people in the neighborhood, I only specifically want to speak for myself, but I think if there is a process to broach that subject for safety, that I would like to start a process for lowering that speed limit. As you come into the neighborhood, you pull out of 237 and the road kind of curves, it S curves, and then immediately after the S curve is a very large straightaway. I happen to live on the straightaway, and it is filled with houses, with kids, dogs, people, everything. And you can hear the cars turn out at 237, and they're making the curve and they can't go 35, but it's like the ramp up to 35 miles an hour. And I think we all know that when the posted speed is 35, we're not really going 35. A lot of people are going like 45. And it's really pretty difficult. Unfortunately, lately we've had to access the St. Francis police to make reports about people being unsafe in the neighborhood. We only have 2 access points. So my other kind of argument for it is that we're not a through street. We're not going to anything. The only reason you would enter into this area is to access your home or to exit the neighborhood. I can definitely understand 35 if we were an access point to, you know, head out to 65 or something like that. That would make good sense to me. But to me, with the number of people that we have living out there, it doesn't really meet, at least in my eyes, the standard of 1 unit per 5 acres. We have acreage lots, but we're stacked up in there, so it's concerning to me. They don't want to access the police. They have 1,000 other things to do. So for me, and for my child who's sitting back there, I think lowering the speed limit could be advantageous, at least to get people to slow down, and make it a little bit better neighborhood. I don't want someone to get killed. That's my major concern. So that's it. That was a lot of rambling.
Okay,
This is a great.
thank you.
great environment. Parks. I live at 901 240th Lane, actually just right across the street from Kevin. So as my sister said, we live in Smith Lake Wildlife Estates. There are 54 houses built out there right now. Most of those houses are right off of Palm Street, which is the street that she lives on. Like she said, it's about a half mile stretch. People are speeding up as they come through the S curve and basically going as fast as they want to. It's about a 50-50 split. I walk my dogs twice a day. Half of the people will slow down to about 20 miles an hour, shift over to the other side of the road, drive nice and slow by, which is what you would expect on a residential street. The other half are driving straight down the road, just at whatever chosen speed. So, I mean, a lot of the times out there, what you have is big groups of people walking around. People are walking around with their children. they're on the bikes, they've got little four-wheelers and stuff. I mean, everybody's just having a nice time in the area where they live. This is just really dangerous. What I wanted to suggest is there's a program that's actually started in Minneapolis and St. Paul, called 20 is Plenty. Slower is safer. So if you're hit by a vehicle traveling at 40 miles an hour, 9 out of 10 people will die. If you're a pedestrian. If you're a pedestrian walking on the road and hit by a vehicle going 20 miles an hour, only 1 out of 10 people will die. So I'm just asking if there's anything we can do to slow these people down. I know there was at one point talk about putting speed bumps out on Palm Street. I also walk on Unity, which is the other access point, and it's got a hill and a sharp curve to the left. People drive faster over there too. So it's throughout the entire neighborhood. So we would really appreciate it. You guys can take a look at that.
Thank you. Do anybody? With that, we will do a public hearing, I guess. The CIP 2024-2028 hearing and approval. So, or well, we have, we have anybody here to speak on the public hearing, right? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, so. So what we do is, first we could address the parking that we can have staff look into it and report back to council,
Okay.
possibly with some discussion. As far as the CIP public hearing, let's start with Darcy, have her go through the presentation, then open it to the public,
There,
receive any feedback and then close it.
Darcy, it's on you.
Mayor Pro Tem and council, I don't really have a presentation. What's before you is the 2024-2028 capital improvement plan. We have to do this each year. It's required by charter. It is sent out, which I put it on the website by the end of June, and it has to be approved by August 15th per charter. It was put out back the late June. This is the same thing that we used to formulate the 5-year financial plan that we just went through and talked about. So you just need to hold the public hearing. You can approve it then afterwards if you want. It just needs to have that approval by August 15th. And I can answer any questions on the plan if you don't ask. But you would have to open up the public hearing.
All right, I guess now we will open up the public hearing at 6:17. The CIP, do we have anybody that wants to speak on the public hearing for the CIP plan? Seeing none. We will close the public hearing, I guess, or should I wait a minute? 6:18. Close the public hearing at 6:18. And I will ask council if we have any questions. Sarah, if you have any questions. Rob,
I have no questions.
I have no questions at this time.
I have nothing at this time. I guess I will entertain a motion to approve the CIP for 2024, 2020. Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Ludwig, do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Robinson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to new business. Turtle Pond 6th edition comprehensive plan amendment rezoning. Back over to Beth.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Before you tonight are several requests for the Turtle Pond 6th edition development. This is an existing about 2.5 acre site located off of 229th Avenue on the city's southern border. This property is completely surrounded by the Turtle Run and unit development that's been in existence for at least a few decades now. There is a wetland complex to the north and the west on this site. And as you'll see, it is directly to the west of the 4th edition of Turtle Ponds, which came through a few years ago. There is an existing pole barn on the site with kind of a U-shaped access that is proposed to all be removed as part of this. So the concept plan for this project was actually reviewed last year with Planning Commission and City Council last summer. At that time, it included a mix of residential and commercial uses. The project has since been revised so that we're only talking about residential uses in that area moving forward. So the requests before you this evening are threefold. There is a comprehensive plan amendment to re-guide the land from commercial to medium density residential. Then there is the amendment to the Turtle Run PUD to include this site in that project, and then the preliminary plat as well. So the overall sixth edition of Turtle Ponds is proposed to include 7 detached townhome lots, as well as 2 outlots. This site would be served by an extension of the private street that runs from the Turtle Ponds 4th edition. So that road would be extended and then would serve these 7 lots. So the comprehensive plan amendment, the site is currently guided for commercial use. The amendment is requested to re-guide the land to medium density residential, which, as you can see from that image, that is what the residential portions of Turtle Run are guided right now. The density for medium density residential is 3 to 7 units per net acre. This project is proposed at 5.2 units per net acre, so you're right in the middle of that range. As far as the PUD amendment goes, this is an interesting site. The city zoning map shows this as PUD. However, the PUD was never actually amended to include this site. So there is a requested rezoning as part of this to include the site as part of that PUD. The proposed project does meet the requirements for detached townhomes for Turtle Run, so there wouldn't be any changes made for that part. I talked a little bit about streets earlier. The private street would be extended from the 4th edition, would run north and south along the 6th edition to provide access to those lots. It would be constructed to the same standards as the 4th edition, so it would look like a continuous road and would be maintained by the HOA there. The other piece of the PUD amendment that I did want to mention related to streets is because the proposed access for the 6th edition is located so close to the eastern edge of that site. It's pretty close between the proposed homes on the 6th edition and then the proposed homes for the 4th edition. So there is a proposed amendment to the PUD that would be wrapped up in this that would require a 20-foot setback from the roadway edge for principal structures. And so the main purpose of that is to allow for repairs and maintenance, mainly for the utilities underneath the road, but also for the private street as well. This would not affect the development of the Turtle Ponds 6, but it would affect the development of the 2 western lots on Turtle Ponds 4. However, those lots are currently vacant and they're owned by the applicant for Turtle Ponds 6. So we've discussed that with him. He's indicated that he'll be able to meet that requirement for those lots. And so we don't have concerns about moving forward with that setback requirement. And finally, the parking requirement for detached townhome lots will be met on each individual lot with the attached garages as well as driveway spaces for the vehicles. The applicant is also proposing guest parking on the north and south ends of that roadway. So there'd be 4 stalls on each end, so for a total of 8. Planning Commission did review this project at their June meeting and held a public hearing at that time. We discussed some information on the roadway, specifically talking about the turnaround requirements and what's needed for that, as well as how the coordination with the 4th edition would work with that roadway extension. Again, because this is all owned by the same applicant, we can create an HOA that works for all of that area. Otherwise, there was support for having the site be fully residential versus that mix of residential and commercial that we talked about last year. And Planning Commission did recommend approval unanimously. So with that, I've got the suggestions on the screen. Happy to answer questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Questions, Brian?
No, I had my questions answered earlier. Sarah?
I have no further.
Yeah.
The only new concern, I said on the PNC meeting as well, was emergency vehicle flow and ease of flow, and then snow removal were addressed. Those are going to be addressed properly.
I have nothing further.
That's it. Thank you.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-36 to re-guide the property at 129th Avenue, commercial to medium density residential. Additions and findings as presented by staff. And to authorize this amendment to the call the council for final review.
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Bauer makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Udvig. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then we will entertain a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 321, amending the Turtle Run, PUD to include the property at 2761 northwest. Establish a 20-foot roadway setback as presented by staff. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion, Mayor Pro Tem.
Motion by Councilmember Robinson, do we have a second? I'll second. Second by Councilmember Bauer, and as an ordinance, we'll do the roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Milbar,
Aye.
Councilmembers Robinson,
Aye.
Ludwig, Bauer,
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution 2023-37, approving the preliminary plat and preliminary PUD plans for Turtle Ponds 6th edition with conditions and findings of fact as presented by staff. Motion by Councilmember Ludwig, do we have a second?
I'll second, Mayor Pro Tem.
Second by Councilmember Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now we move on to the rehabilitation project, 2023.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff opened bids for the 2023 street rehabilitation project. The 2 bids were received. Park Construction was the low bidder at $266,415.91. The engineer's estimate for this project was $257,418. Majority of this project will be financed by the city's municipal state aid account, with the remainder from the local street fund. The breakdown of that is in your packet. If council remembers, these streets were actually scheduled for 2024 with the accelerated deterioration. Staff requested and council approved moving these up a year. So the bidding process got a little later than anticipated, but at the 3.4%, we still recommend going forward. Construction costs alone lately have been going up 5% a year. And there's no guarantee what next year brings, so. With that, we're recommending that council consider adopting resolution 2023-38, resolution accepting bids and awarding the contract of Park Construction.
Have any questions, council? Kevin?
No, sir, no question.
Sarah?
No questions?
And Rob?
No.
Then I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2023. It was 38, I believe. We have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Ludwig. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Bauer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to reports. We're meeting over to the public site. Starting the second meeting over to the public. Do we have anybody to speak? All right. Then we'll move on to reports. Fire Department's monthly report for June.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, for your review this evening is the fire department's monthly report for the month of June. For the month of June, we did see another decrease in our response times from the year previous. And as you can see, our trend line, we certainly are trending in the right direction month, year over year with our response times. So that's very encouraging to see. We also did have a little reprieve in our run volume for the month of June, looking back from year to year from 74 down to 55. Average number of firefighters responding was relatively stable at 5.4. This is a slight drop from the previous year. And our run distribution remains pretty much the same, 70% medical, 30% or 30% fire runs on the month. And you can see where our decrease primarily was on the EMS side for the month of June as well. We did continue to use our variances to a pretty high level for the month of June. We did flag 3 calls on the month with ambulance response times over 20. And we had a very active month on inspections with 10 initial site visits with 7 re-inspections for a total of 17 site visits for the month. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, Rob?
Well, good report. It's good to see the numbers going down. Kind of give a little bit of break to our guys and gals. I don't have any questions about it. Looks good.
Thank you, sir.
Sarah?
Well, I don't have any questions either. This seems very continuing hard work with this transition. I know it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but I know your department is ready for it.
It's gonna be a busy summer.
It is.
Kevin?
Very good report. Again, appreciate the work the guys, the men and women do of your department. grass fires, we didn't, you haven't had as much as as I would have anticipated, and I'm trying to look in. It's been an amazing summer, for a little bit of moisture, I think I heard today we're down 6.5 inches behind the schedule overall, but,
It's hard to miss, even just driving across Bridge Street when you hit the Rum River, it's hard not to miss, right? The river volume is very low, it's been a dry year, unfortunately. Thankfully, we haven't had any major events, we've had two, I would say, rather significant, but not compared to last season, what we saw as far as grass fires. We always get a little bit nervous when 4th of July rolls around, especially how dry it's been, and we're pretty fortunate this year. Gonna keep doing this for now.
There you go, Kevin.
Guess what?
somebody had to bring it. But no, well, that's good, that does expose your group to hazards and safety concerns as well on property and life and whatnot, so that's a good thing, so, but no, great report, I really appreciate the work you guys do out there and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I would just say good report as well, I don't have any questions. That's it, I guess.
Thank you, sir.
Todd, we want to do police reports.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem Council, before you second quarter report for the police department, this report basically gives you an overview of the activities and calls that we experienced in the second quarter year 2023. All in all, we did see a noticeable increase in calls for service during the quarter. Some notable increases in the part 1 and 2 offense category for drug offenses, assaults, DWIs, and thefts. Some of those thefts being shopliftings. And increases in part 3, 4, and 5 offenses, including driving complaints, welfare checks, and assists. Traffic stops by officers also increased, as well as citations issued and cases referred to the investigations. Officers also participated in multiple TZD events during the quarter, focusing on seatbelt and impaired driving enforcement. And just a reminder that all the TZD hours that our officers are reimbursed through the Department of Public Safety and their TZD initiative. And as always, the quarter was busy with efforts to connect with the community, including events such as the 3rd annual Citizens Academy, 7th annual bike rodeo, and our free dog license day. We do have more events to go throughout the remainder of the year, including, of course, National Night Out coming up here in August, along with Home the Cop. Our drug take back day is in October, and then we have Santa visiting us here in December. Officers and staff are also very active with various types of training during the second quarter. They completed 218 hours of training in areas including use of force, firearms qualification, first aid CPR, pursuit intervention tactic or PIT, and mobile field force training, amongst others. Also, as you know, we implemented our first unmanned aerial vehicle or UAV program in May. The department has 4 pilots, officers Derek Clark, Amanda DeZuris, Chase Hedges, and Chris Valera all passed their unmanned aircraft licensing exams through the FAA to become UAV pilots. The exam process was actually quite extensive and difficult. So these officers did put a lot of extra time into studying and training for this exam. Also, which they have to review every 2 years, so they're excited about that. The program is going very well. Our 4 pilots have actually been doing a lot of training flights, both at night and during the day. And we did use it during Pioneer Days Parade for monitoring and threat assessment. The department is also very close to being at full operating strength for the first time in a while. Officer Dave Pulte successfully completed his field training and is currently working on his own in a night power shift position, which is basically kind of a mid shift 3 to 3 type, 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. And Officer Riley Struckman is doing, he's picking it up, he's doing better. He's anticipated beginning his phase 4 of his field training in the next 2 weeks. And if everything goes well, we hope to have him on his own here sometime in August. And also, Officer Brandon Stenning was promoted to the position of sergeant in June, and he officially began his sergeant duties on July 7th. And those are the basic updates from the second quarter, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. So Kevin first.
Appreciate you working with your team, doing good, chief, and again, your trickle down from the top down as far as morale and is the consistency in the way they take care of business. They're people, but yet they're also police officers, so that's pretty cool. DUIs are up 3-fold. Wow, that's something that also been reading during the office. They're not only drunk, they also got meth or some other narcotics in their vehicles with them.
Unfortunately, they're out there getting off.
Yeah, that's something. Your public outreach, again, is great. It's just neat to see again, consistency in what you're doing and, the public gets involved. Usually, police are getting a bad rap in the last couple of years, but you make it, you take down some of those barriers, especially with the youth and from the bottom up. It's not, if they're not learning at home, they at least learn through activities that you're putting out there. So that's cool too. So, just appreciate the work you do and keep it up.
Great report. It's not too, how do you say it? Summertime brings a lot of crime. I understand that, but, good report. I want to address and I wish the ladies would have stayed. Maybe having an officer swing out to 239th or just past that, maybe setting up one of the signs to, kind of see what that actually looks like, because 35 equals 52 in most people's world. And then on the city side, is there a possibility of putting like a no outlet right at the front so that when, people turn in there thinking they're going somewhere, and maybe on the other road that makes that move. And I'd say hand out a ticket or two on that street, because if it is the residents that actually live on that street, they're gonna tell 5 people that they got a ticket, and those 5 people are gonna slow down, and it's gonna be a trickle down effect if they're going 55 on that
If we
road.
had received, actually, it might have been one of these, I don't know, but we did receive a complaint out there the last couple of days, so we are gonna take steps to address that out there, and I do believe it is the local residents, most of them.
Right. So, other than that, great report. Tell you guys thank you for the hard work that they do. There.
Yes, great report. Thank you again for your leadership and for your team. It's always good to see them out. I love seeing them out in the neighborhoods. They're always out interacting, so I really appreciate that. I'd like to see them, the kids get really excited when those cops come out of the car and talk to them. It should be fun. Thank you.
Good report, Todd. Appreciate the work you do as well. As well as all of our staff here. I appreciate you letting me participate in the academy this year. But just keep it up and thank you. And moving on to council member reports. Over to Sarah.
I think the only thing that I did was we had a work session in June.
Rob?
I also attended the work session, and I did do the recycling day Saturday, I think it was. Suggestion is, I would like to see all aspects of recycling in every trip, because I brought a lot of stuff that they didn't have out there. So I will bring a bunch of stuff back home. So if I did it, I know other people did it, and it was frustrating, but now I got some firewood, so, they didn't wake it up properly, but, that was my only thing about recycling day is try to have all the same drop points. And I think we do it 4 times a year, all 4 times. That's my suggestion.
I also attended the work session towards the end of June. I also went with Assistant Fire Chief Lawrence and myself, and then Harris Barton. We went to the bid opening at Stall Construction. We got to see the process anyway. It wasn't a public bid opening. How it's all the bids came in at a certain time and how they're processed, and there was 2 large tables spread out, very efficient, very concise. What they're doing, we'll be receiving a report on 27th of July, I believe, sitting down with the building committee and seeing how it all shook out. So it was done in an orderly fashion. They did quite a professional, proven way of handling. Also want to kudos to Colette and the farmers market. It seems to be gaining momentum vigorously, so that's good. And keep up the good work. I know it started out as a trickle, and now it's almost a river. So good for you, working out well. There's a circus coming to town July 27th. There's a coloring contest on Facebook. You can get free tickets for the kiddos. I think, the chamber is doing it the next 4 days. Anyway, I think they did their first drawing tonight at 6 p.m. So that's coming. And then most of all, 1999 and August 1st, you will be able to take out your inner hostilities on the dunk tank. And I believe Sarah and myself will be participating in that. I think I have 5:30 to 6 or 5 to 5:30, you have 6 to 6:30. So come out there and dunk us for a worthy cause. We'll take anybody who can got a good pitching arm. So other than that, I'm looking forward to that. It should be fun. Hopefully the weather stays as nice as it has been for us. So other than that, thank you.
A couple things to, I'm new in this chair, as you know, if you don't know, we did lose, a good friend of mine, Mayor Feldman, great man. And I had no idea what to say or when to say it during this meeting, but I did want to honor him in some way, shape or form. So I guess that being said, I know we wouldn't want a big parade or anything for him, but, he will be missed. He had, great love for the city and his passion for serving the citizens. So I just want to say that. I was going to mention National Night Out again, August 4th, that Kevin brought up. So I will say that, and look forward to being there. And then we do have a request from our city administrator for a work session on August 14th. So how does that work for everybody? You're going to be out of town.
I will be out of town from the 11th to the 22nd.
I have a. We're kind of planning that for it. I can attend one way or another.
Let's see what I mean.
You're good? Okay. So it sounds like we have a work session scheduled for August 14th. 6 o'clock at the community room. All right. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion? I'll make that motion. Motion by Councilmember Bauer. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Reddick. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.